Hello pilots and ground crew, welcome back to my channel again. Right, this is going to be a super simple, super basic explanation of all the different numbers that you come across when you're a new pilot, such as 2205 or 3-inch props, 4-inch props, 6-inch quad. Right, a lot of it can be very confusing when you're a new pilot. Now the reason, I'll just move this out the road for a second, the reason why I'm doing this video is a friend of mine, right, and you shouldn't laugh at new pilots making mistakes, but I did, but he's a mate of mine, so I got away with it, right. He said to me, I bought a frame, right, and it was his first frame, you see, right. He said, I typed in for 5-inch frames because he wanted a 5-inch frame, and he'd seen one, he'd bought one, he'd ordered it, got it. When it arrived, basically, he got the tape measure out and measured it, and that way was bigger than 5-inch, that way was bigger than 5-inch, and the full thing was bigger than. He was expecting a 5-inch size little frame. So I had a bit of a chuckle, like some of you lot are now. Right, but it is, I mean, when you first get into this hobby, there's so many numbers that are chucked at you, it can get confusing. So I just want to cover this for the quad size first of all. If you see something advertised as, say, a 3-inch size quad or a 5-inch size quad, they are not talking about the size of the frame, they are talking about the size of the propeller that will go onto the frame. 9 times out of 10 you may see something like 250mm 5-inch. Right? Well, it's the 250mm that you want to concentrate on, because it's telling you the length is 250mm. They're telling you it's a 250mm size quad that takes a 5-inch size prop. Right, so if you see a 3-inch quad, right, it's telling you it takes a 3-inch size prop, which on average will be 130mm. Right, that can vary. I said average before anyone leaves a comment. Right, say my quad's 180mm and it takes a 3-inch size prop, George. Yes, I know, I said bloody average. Leave me alone. Yeah, so sorry. God, do I waffle. Right, so if you see something advertised as a 5-inch size quad, it doesn't mean it's going to be 5 inches in length. Alright, because this is a 5-inch size bottom plate, and I ain't got my tape measure here, but I'd say that's nearly 8 inches, I reckon, maybe 6 or 7. But yeah, so you go by the millimetre number. So if it says 210mm, 210mm, you know you're getting a 210mm size quad, which you usually measure from one point to the other point, right, from one motor mount to the other mount. Right, that can slightly vary, but I'm not going to go into it because on average you measure from point to point. Right, so hopefully that's just covered the frame size. Right, don't go, but if it says 5-inch, it means it's taking a 5-inch size prop. It doesn't mean it's a 5-inch size quad. Same as 3-inch, don't mean you're getting a little 3-inch quad. You're getting something that takes a 3-inch size prop. Right then, that's that little bit to do with the numbers done and dusted. Throw that aside. Now we're going to move on to the props, which makes sense. Right, 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch, 10-inch. It can get very confusing if you're trying to figure out what size prop you need for your quad. That's why a lot of manufacturers will say, right, 250mm quad, 5-inch, and it's the 5-inch telling you you need a 5-inch size prop. Now this is a 5-inch size prop, but if you take a tape measure and measure the size of the prop, right, a single blade, it's only 2.5 inch. you have to imagine there's a second prop there coming out, and if you measure from there to there, it would be 5 inches, right? Or just double it. You measure from the centre to the end, 2.5 inch, you know you've got a 5 inch size prop because you double it. Right? If you still add the single props, which I don't happen to have, but you know what I mean, they look a bit like that. Just one single prop with a hole in the middle. If you measured that, it would be 5 inches, which would be the same as that, if you know what I mean. Right? But this being a tri-blade, right, you get the gist, right? And it's exactly the same with a 3 inch. Alright, now what do the numbers actually mean? Well, when you're looking, I mean, this prop I can feel it's got numbers on, right? And it's a 50-45 as it is. But when you're looking on your websites and stuff, you might see 50-45. So what do them numbers mean? Well, the first two numbers, the 50, represent 5 inch. Now we've just gone over what the 5 inch is, 2 inch, 2.5 inch, imaginary 2.5 inch, you've got a 5 inch size prop. Right, so the first two numbers, the 50 represents the 5 inch. The next two numbers, in this case 45, right, represent the pitch of the blade. Right, so you could get a 50-20, a 50-30, a 50-45 or a 50-55, you know what I mean, you can get silly. But the more of a pitch, the more oomph you're going to get on your motors, which means you're going to be drawing more current, right, more power. You could end up blowing stuff, so you always have to make sure everything is compatible. You can't get, for argument's sake, a 50-50 prop, so 5 inch and 50-degree pitch, whack it on the cheapest possible build and stick a crappy old lipo on, right, or you're gonna puff out your lipo. You could burn out your motor because of the power it's going to be spinning and pumping round. Very, very worst case scenario that is, by the way, before anyone says that won't happen. It's a could happen. But with a higher pitch, the second number, 50-45, the second two digits, the 45, with a higher pitch, it's the more punch you're going to get. Now that's not necessarily a great thing, right? For new pilots, I recommend don't go any higher, brand new pilots, don't go any higher than 50-30 props, because these things, they're cheap, right? You use them, you get used to flying, you throw them away and you get some better ones. But a brand new pilot, if you've got a 5 inch size quad or a quad that takes 5 inch size props, you're looking at something along the lines of a 50-30. You could go up to a 50-45, because remember the throttle stick moves both ways. You don't have to jam it full power. So there you go then, that's what the two numbers are for. The first two numbers represent the length, the second two numbers represent the pitch. So if this was a 30-45, it would be 3 inch, it'd be 1.5 inches on this side, 1.5 inches imaginary on that side, so you got a 3 inch size prop, right? And whatever the second number, say 45 again, would be the pitch. Okay, so hopefully you've got that. On single bladed props, right, it's simply you measure it 5 inch, you've got a 5 inch size prop, but you've got the gist of that, hopefully. Alright, now any questions, right, just leave a comment, I'll be happy to get back to you. Because I am kind of skipping over this quickly because I have to move on to motors now. Now the motors are one of the most confusing things that confuse people when you get your 2205, 2300 kV, your 27, your 1507, 41,000 kV and stuff like that, and you're thinking, how come that one's only 2300 kV and that one's 4100 kV? Why is the little... It can get really, really confusing, right, for new pilots. So let's start at the beginning, right? This is a bit battered up. You can't even see any numbers on that. But this is an Emax motor. Now this is a 23, hang on. Yeah, there you go, sorry. A 2204 2300 kV. Right, this also is a 2204 2300 kV, and this little one here is a 1507 4100 kV. So that's got a higher kV than these. Now we'll start with the most simplest thing. What the hell's the kV, George? Right, the kV is simply, and keeping it simple, it's a bit more detailed, but keeping it simple is simply how fast the motor spins. Okay, so that's what, when you read the kV, that's how fast the motor spins. That's what kV is. Right, now the first two numbers, 2204. The 22 represents, the first two numbers, the 2204 represents the length, the width of the motor, and the 04 represents the height. But when I say the length and the height, it's really the interior part of it. Right, like I've got a plain motor here, I've got a big bugger here. Right, but if this was a 2204, it would be 22 and 4 mil. Okay, 22 and 4 mil. Right, there is once again the odd little exception, but we're keeping this simple. So just think the first two numbers of 2204 size motor, first two, 22 mil that way, 04 that way, as in 4 mil that way. Alright, and we've already said what the kV is. Now as for the kV, like I said, this well, I'll tell you what, this big motor here, alright, yeah, you have this huge bloody big bugger here, alright, this is a 2300 kV. Right, so that's how fast it'll spin, 2300 revolutions per volt, which is, shall we say, per minute, but it's per volt. Right, and this tiny little one is a 4100 kV, a lot more friggin' spin, a lot more power. Now you'd figure this big bugger would have more power. Well, as a rule of thumb, I'll take that apart again because I need to put the washer in it, it'll remind me. Oh, sorry, offshot, pull, strong magnets. As a rule of thumb, right, the bigger the motor you have on the bigger the vehicle, alright, model, you really want a lower kV. Alright, now that doesn't always come into effect again, however, but we're keeping it simple for new pilots, so think the bigger the model, you want the lower kV. So on a 5-inch size quad, 2300 kV is ample, right, for freestyling about as you're learning to fly. Right. Now why? Because I know somebody's going to say, well, why? Because if you want the motor to spin faster, you want a bigger kV motor. Well, the reason why you have a high kV on a small little motor is going onto a tiny little quad. I'll tell you what, I saw a video, oh, it was a long time ago, I can't remember when, it was at least 2 years, 3 years ago, and somebody mentioned this, and the description he put was perfect. If you imagine a tiny little bird, right, like a robin, something like that, it's got its body and it's got tiny little wings, right, but they flap like a bugger, they go mental, they do. But then if you picture something really big like an eagle, right, it's got a massive body but it flaps its wings slowly, real gently. So if you've got a big model, you don't need the super punch of a high kV. Right, like this motor is for a plane and it's only 2300 kV, and it's a flapping of the wings like the eagle, right, and it's ample to get your bird into the sky. Whereas a small little quad, right, because it's small, right, you can use a higher kV. In fact, it's recommended you do use a high kV on a small little model like a 3-inch. A high kV, because of the speed, it gives the body of the bird, shall we say, the oomph. I hope you got that. Right, it can get a little bit confusing, but if you just remember the kV, right, is how fast it spins. Right, the bigger the model, ideally, especially new pilots want a lower kV. Right, the smaller the model, think a higher kV. Right, there is exceptions, I know, right, but I'm doing this for new pilots. Now, seeing as we're talking about motors and kV and power and stuff like that, there's one important thing you need to always double check when you're setting up your quad. Right, you will notice your battery will say, for argument's sake, 4-cell. You've got a 4-cell battery. When you buy your ESCs, whether it be a 20 amp stack or single arm ESCs, right, whatever your ESCs are doing, check that they are rated up to 4S, so your battery don't blow them. Right? It will say on the description when you're buying it 2 to 3 cell, 3 to 6 cell, 4 to 10 cell, whatever. Right, on your ESCs, your electric speed controls, right, because they have to be able to take the voltage of the battery, and so do your motors. When you buy new motors, right, check that they can take the voltage of the battery that you're buying. Okay then, pilots and ground crew, I'll leave it there. I think I've covered all the numbers I can think of. Right, if there's any questions, please leave a comment, right, and I'll be happy to get back to you. If anything got a bit confusing, because like I said, this is mostly for new pilots, but if anything got confusing, please leave a comment. Or if you've got any extra little questions about props or motors or in general what we've been talking about, just leave a comment. Okay then, new pilots and ground crew, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching and goodbye.